if the person doesn't, if she doesn't have family history of diabetes mellitus.
Okay, so there are so many myths around diabetes. You just mentioned the pointing factors that could lead to diabetes. You didn't mention sugar. Some persons have this idea, or they think that diabetes is caused by sugar, and when you eat a lot of sugary things, you are prone to have diabetes. Is that true?
Okay, yes, of course. So sugar is a broad term for carbohydrates, like they just general. That was I said carbohydrates.
Okay.
So the basic units of carbohydrates is glucose. So whatever you're consuming, whether it's the artificial sugar, carbohydrate from food, it breaks down to that basic glucose that is then transported to the cells.
If a lot of carbohydrates, it can lead to diabetes if you have a family history.
Yes, it can lead to diabetes.
Why is diabetes called the silent killer? People often refer to it as a silent killer. Is it something that's not curable or not treatable? Why is it called a silent killer?
So, if you observe, most diseases are called silent killers, like hypertension is also called the silent killer because most times they don't present with symptoms. It's only when it has deteriorated, it has gotten to the lethal stage that probably the person is rushed to the hospital. That is if you don't always check your system. When you're rushed to the hospital, that's when you realize that you've been diabetic all the while and you didn't know. So that is why it is called a silent killer, because it doesn't always present with symptoms, or it presents with symptoms that you will not pay attention to, that you just consider as trivial.
Okay, so what signs could an individual see and start figuring that, okay, this could be diabetes?
Okay, so to make it easy, there is an abbreviation. So we call it the 3 P's of diabetes. That's the three classical symptoms of diabetes, which is the polyuria. You see the person urinating frequently, like more frequently than usual. Polydipsia, the person has the urge to take or gets thirsty more often than usual. And then there is polyphagia, the person feels hungry all the time.
Poly 3, so the first one is
polyuria, excessive urination, polydipsia, excessive thirst, polyphagia, excessive hunger. And most times they come at the same time, so you see this, yes. And then, of course, since the body is not able to absorb the glucose and take it to the cells of the body that need it, the person will be feeling hungry. Even after eating, of course, the food is not absorbed, so you'll still be feeling hungry.
Okay.
Yes, and most times you'll be feeling weak too. The person feels weak, dizzy, and all of that.
So how common is diabetes in Nigeria? And from a professional viewpoint, do you think people understand what it is, and do they understand how serious it is, really?
Actually, diabetes is very common. Like I said, a pregnant woman can just stay and develop diabetes due to hormonal changes. It also means that other women with hormonal imbalance or hormonal changes can also just develop diabetes. So diabetes is very common. I think to an extent, people are aware. People are aware. You always see people coming to check their blood sugar, check themselves. I think they are actually trying, but a lot more other people who don't have access to this information, I don't think they are keeping tabs.
Is it curable?
Diabetes is not curable, just like hypertension isn't curable. It is curable. You can say it is curable in pregnant women only because their own was just caused by their pregnancy. So there are high chances that it will resolve when the woman puts to bed. But so generally,
how can it be managed?
Okay.
Because I believe there is hope for those that have diabetes, right?
Of course, there is hope. There is hope for people who are diabetic. So like I said, type 1 diabetes, that one, their problem is glaring to everybody. It is just insulin that they need to absorb. No other thing can do the job because insulin is entirely absent from their system. So they need external.
Type 1 and type 2 diabetes, I'll get back to that question you've been answering. Type 1 and type 2 diabetes, is it same symptoms that the person would have if I don't have insulin or the insulin is not enough? Is it same?
Yes.
Same symptoms.
Same symptoms. It's just that type 1 diabetes develops mainly from childhood.
Okay.
So when you see a child with diabetes, it is likely type 1 diabetes.
Okay. So back to the question, how can you manage?
Okay. So for type 1 diabetes, of course, mainly insulin, external insulin. I'm sure you must have seen people asking for insulin. Some maybe if you visited a hospital or a pharmacy, as the case may be, you'd see them insulin syringe, insulin. So there are different kinds of insulin.
Like it's a drug?
Yes, it's in an injectable form.
So they have to take
administer
that
the hormone, yes, to be able to absorb. They can take it before food, after food, or long term in the evening or so, depending on how it is prescribed and the severity of their case.
Okay.
But for type 2 diabetes, they usually do not require insulin. There are medicines. So there are medicines that increase the sensitivity of the insulin in their body. Remember I said it could be due to resistance of insulin. So it increases the sensitivity of the insulin to be able to transport the glucose to the cells.
Okay.
So there are medicines that improve sensitivity and medicines that enhance production of insulin in these people. So it is only when these have not worked, like this treatment fails, that is when probably long term, or usually towards a person's old age, that is when they may now start giving insulin if there is need for it.
So for the insulin, is it after a while, if the person is committed and consistent with their medication, is there a point in their lifetime where they stop, or they have to do it all through their lifetime?
Remember I said that the body has seen the insulin produced by the body as an enemy.
No, I'm talking about, let's start with type 1.
Yes, so there is no going back. The person is on insulin for life, because they cannot utilize the insulin they produce.
Okay.
So they depend on that external insulin.
Then back to your type 2 explanation. So for that of type 2, now, it's still for life?
Type 2 is that you just keep tabs of it, on it.
Okay.
So as you're taking your medicines, you're checking when your blood sugar stabilizes or goes back to normal. They can ask you to start taking your medicines every other day, probably every 48 hours or more. So that one is the one that you can freestyle, if I may use the term. So you can freestyle type 2 based on what your prescriber or your clinician tells you to do. But that type 1 is not negotiable. You're on insulin for life.
Aside from the medication for type 1, taking your insulin, for type 2, taking your medications, is that all they can do to manage diabetes? Because I've heard lots of diabetic patients saying, doctor said I shouldn't eat this, I shouldn't eat that, I shouldn't eat carbohydrates, I shouldn't take more sugar. That's for the type 2. I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that because of that I'm diabetic, I don't need sugar in my system. But from the explanation you gave to us, that patient needs insulin. For type 1, they need insulin.
Yes.
For type 2, they need medications that will help them boost the insulin in their system. So what other thing can they do to manage their diabetes?
So they tell them to not eat so much sugar, because there's much sugar in the body. So they're trying to... So there's much sugar much glucose in the blood already. So the person's issue is not eating. So you don't need extra sugar from food and all of those sugary things. They are trying to tackle the one that is in your blood already, to get it off, to get it to the cells that need it for you to function.
Okay.
So that is why most times they say, don't eat sugar.
So what other thing can you do aside from medication? Can't diabetes be managed without medication or with medication?
So generally, including hypertension and most other diseases that are not curable, remember, the first thing they tell you is your lifestyle. They don't immediately place you on medicines. Okay. They ask you to check your lifestyle, check what you eat, exercise, and keep checking your blood sugar and blood pressure, as the case may be. And so those are the other things that I don't know if I'll...
Okay, so if you talked about family history, that if a patient had a family member, maybe parents, grandparents who was diabetic, he or she is prone to having diabetes.
Yes.
What can I do if I'm that patient and then I know that there's history of diabetes in my family? What can I do to make sure that I don't ever get diabetes?
You just start early to keep tabs of it. You check your blood sugar from time to time, and of course you would. Okay, so it's. Of course, most of us, we have people like health practitioners that we go to for when we have health challenges involved. So you make sure you're always in contact with your health practitioner. So they'll guide you if there is any dietary need. And the prevention is subjective to individuals. So what will work for you might not work for the other person. So they have to manage you and keep checking you as a person. So I cannot give like a generally will tell you, exercise frequently.
I don't need to take any medication to boost my insulin before.
You don't need to. The only thing you can do is exercise frequently and eat vegetables and avoid artificial sugars as much as you
All
can.
right. So is there a thin line between high blood sugar and when a person is confirmed to be diabetic?
Okay, so you can be temporarily or momentarily, you can momentarily have high blood sugar. Of course, when you eat, it's expected that your blood glucose spikes. So at that point, I can't call you diabetic.
So
it's just a consistent increase, like high concentration of glucose, consistently, whether you eat or you don't eat.
Is there a fixed period to monitor this to not arrive at the fact that this person is diabetic, in order not to raise false alarm for someone not to perceive that they are diabetic? Meanwhile, it's just a temporary rise in blood sugar.
Okay, usually it is they observe you for 3 months.
Okay.
So there is this blood sugar test that they call HbA1c glucose test. So your hemoglobin, your blood hemoglobin binds to glucose, and the life cycle of red blood cells for 3 months. So, okay, I feel like I'm deviating a bit. So when diabetics come to check probably they come to consult their doctor or their pharmacist. They usually, especially if they've been skipping their medicines, they don't want you to know that they've been skipping their medicines. So they just probably take their medicine and come. So if you do the random blood sugar test, you get. So, but if you do that HbA1c, it gives you, it shows you how the blood glucose have been for a period of 3 months. You can't lie over 3 months, of course.
Okay.
So that is what they usually use most of, and in diagnosing diabetes, so that is what they use. So you are checked for a period of like 3 months, let's say 2 to 3 months, and if it is consistently high, that is when they say that you're diabetic.
Okay, is there any link between obesity and diabetes? If one is, on the big side, is that a tendency that person, is likely to be diabetic?
Of course, you have excess in your body. You have excess fat. There's excess fat. Most of these things.
You said glucose. The fat is not glucose.
Yes, but when your body is short, I'm talking of a regular person now. If
Okay.
your body doesn't have enough glucose, it starts to break down the fat deposit. So fat can be converted to glucose.
Okay.
Yeah, so even when you don't eat, you're diabetic, your body will start breaking down your fat store. So that's also another problem. So you don't want to. So it is also linked to hypertension, because
Diabetes.
with that high amount of glucose in your blood, it thickens your blood and it increases the pressure at which the blood flows through the blood vessel. So it can cause hypertension, increased tension of blood flowing through your blood vessel.
Okay, so the way you linked diabetes to hypertension, are there other medical conditions that can also spike or bring about or trigger diabetes?
Aside from pregnancy.
It's mainly hormonal changes in the body, and then that family history, of course. Aside, those are the 2 main causes.
Okay, what are some symptoms? You talked about frequent urination, being thirsty, and being tired.
Yeah.
What are some other symptoms that we ignore? And it could be, a symptom that's trying to tell you that you need to go check yourself, you may be diabetic. But we see these things and we ignore them. One, if I take too much of water, if I drink too much water, I should urinate frequently.
Of course.
And if my job is tasking, I would just, even when I'm tired, I'll just assume it's because I've stressed myself at work. So what are some other symptoms that, what are some other symptoms that can show one that, or make one realize that this is not normal, I need to go to the hospital? But we ignore them because, of course, we're always positive and we just hope that everything is okay with us.
So usually in diabetes, you have 3 or more of these symptoms. Like, it is okay to drink enough water, and of course you urinate more, but you cannot be urinating more, so hungry at the same time, and
Always tired.
yes, I'm very thirsty, always. And then these are aside these common symptoms.
Yes, what are the other symptoms that we ignore?
Now we're going to be going to the complications of diabetes. That is when some people start to see, observe blurry vision.
Okay.
Yes, because this glucose now flows, of course it's flowing in your blood. It goes to your retina and starts to blurred. So when you start observing blurry blood vision, and then alongside these other symptoms, of course, you should go to have a self-check.
So I'd actually love you to dwell more on the complications that may arise from diabetes. I know it's kind of somehow you are a pharmacist and like hitting in the medical angle and all of that. So, but what more complications can arise from this? Because I believe that this will help the viewer to understand, because some persons just play down diabetes. Yes, just play down and all of that.
So aside the blurry vision, it can also cause erectile dysfunction in men.
Okay.
It can cause erectile dysfunction in men. It can cause kidney issues. Kidney issues alongside other heart conditions apart from hypertension.
Okay.
Because in diabetes, when a person is diabetic, your body starts to produce more potassium than needed. And potassium now makes your heart to start beating differently from it is supposed to beat, like irregularly. So that can cause other heart. I don't want to start calling terms or going, so just know that it doesn't have to get to this stage for you to tackle it. And then it can cause these things that I've mentioned.
So how's it diagnosed? What tests do I need to take? Is it the normal go to a lab and they check take my blood sample and check? How is diabetes diagnosed? Okay,
so on a normal day, you can just do, the most common one is the fasting blood sugar. That is done, they tell you to do it early in the morning. Ideally, it is meant to be 8 hours after your last meal. So if you had your dinner, let's say by 8 p.m. and you're going by 12 p.m. the next day in the afternoon to go and check fasting blood sugar, your body has already started breaking down its store. So you're not doing fasting blood sugar.
I should be there by 8 a.m.
8 hours after you had your last meal.
More like 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
It's like 4 p.m.
Okay. Or you can do random blood sugar. There's also the random blood sugar test.
So that's how it's diagnosed.
And then there is the HbA1c test. That is done once in 3 months. That's
the hospital or the lab?
In the lab.
Okay.
It's a blood test.
And then once it is confirmed that a person is diabetic, what is the first step? What's the first thing that patient should do?
Your lifestyle. You watch what you've been doing. If you've not been exercising, you start exercising. If you've been eating too much artificial sugar and sugary stuff, you cut down on it. And you keep checking your blood sugar from time to time, like the random and the fasting blood sugar. So that's the first step.
Okay, so 2 questions basically. Let me pick up from where it just stops now. So, an individual, how often should they check their blood sugar level? How often?
Okay, so if you don't have these signs and symptoms present, you might just do your checks once in a month or once in 2 weeks. It's not expensive to do and it's not difficult.
So is there a kit, like a personal
of
kit
course.
to check it at home at your convenience?
You can buy a glucometer from any pharmacy. Buy a glucometer, buy the strips, and buy a lancet. That is the pin. So you don't use your normal pin at all. Yes, of course, it's very easy to check. Very, very easy.
Okay,
and
so
not
if you walk into a pharmacy, for example, and you said you want a glucometer?
Yes, glucometer or glucose check apparatus.
So
they'll just understand, or sugar machine, anything you call, they know what it is, and it's common. So yeah, it's very easy to check.
So what if a person is always urinating, always eating, always feeling tired and thirsty, and they check their blood sugar and it is normal?
Then they start looking for they look at other things that you've been doing. It could be stress triggered, it could be you taking excessive water. Mainly stress can do a lot. So they now look at your lifestyle and try to
tell you
they
check for other things. All right, as pharmacists, how do you and your colleagues, how do you contribute to awareness? Because I asked you a question earlier. Do you think most Nigerians are aware of how serious the diabetes can be and how dangerous, it's called the silent killer, how dangerous it can be if you're diabetic and you don't treat it? How do people really contribute to awareness and educating people about diabetes?
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, we do blood sugar tests in the pharmacies. So aside that, that's why we're here, to educate you all through this channel, this wonderful channel, as I should always tune into this channel. Yes, so we come here to educate you, and from time to time we also organize outreaches during which people can come and get educated on diabetes. So basically that's...
So now I'd love you to just outline how it can be prevented for somebody that is not yet diabetic. So tell us, if you say lifestyle, like break it down, the kind of lifestyle. If you say diets, things that probably people can avoid. For example, when it comes to diet, and I also want you to speak on that. When you see diet drinks and no sugar drinks, because I've seen reports that even alleged that these so-called diet drinks, they use more sugar than the normal
soda.
Yes.
So, as much as some diet drinks can be sugary, there are other sweeteners. There are sweeteners that are very sugary, but they have 0 calories. For instance, stevia. So it could be that they used that, and it is plant-based, like 100% natural. So it could be that they used that, but
So
it
it's a
is still
sweetener.
very sweet. Yes, it could be that they used that.
So when you say 0 calories, that translates to 0 glucose.
Yes,
conversion.
zero glucose, yes. And then, what was I going to say?
The prevention, we're talking about prevention.
No, I wanted to, okay, it's fine. I'll remember that. So basically, it's just eat more vegetables as much as possible. Try to go natural, like natural food. Your rice, your beans.
But rice is
vegetables.
carbohydrates.
That's why you should not eat too much now.
No gluten, but don't eat too much of it.
No gluttony. Just eat in moderation and exercise. Stay active.
When you talk about vegetables, you talk about vegetables, so it's obvious that we should prioritize vegetables over carbs. What other things can we prioritize?
Protein.
Protein.
Yes, protein.
Okay.
Eggs. There are a lot more other foods. And then the diet drinks. Some of them can be fruits-based, fruity diet drinks. And you know fruits can be very sweet too. So it is healthier to take fruity-based sugars that decay artificially compounded sugars. And that was what I wanted to say that I forgot.
All right, thank you so much. We've been speaking with pharmacist Francisca Nwejike, and we've been talking about diabetes mellitus. Mellitus is a strange word to me, but you've broken it down for us and then told us the types of diabetes we have, the type 1, the type 2, and the gestational diabetes as well. And our pharmacist here has just told us it's simple. When you notice you're urinating frequently, you're hungry, you're thirsty, you're tired, please go to a pharmacy, go to a lab, or speak to a medical practitioner, and they would help check your blood sugar. And then you have to maintain a healthy lifestyle. That is the best way to prevent and to manage diabetes mellitus. Thank you so much for joining us and for enlightening us on this crucial and important topic.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, we'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll continue with Morning Ride. Please stay tuned.
Friday's edition of Morning Ride. This morning we are honored to welcome to Morning Ride a distinguished educator, a counselor, a clergyman, and a thought leader. His name is Dr. Ogben Onyisi Lucky. Dr. Lucky hails from Ekukwabo in Ika South local government area of Delta State. He brings with him a legacy of service that spans both the classroom and the pulpit. He is a doctor of family counseling and a respected lecturer in the Department of Guidance and Counseling at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, where he continues to shape young minds and guide futures. He is also the founder and general overseer of the Perfect Love Outreach Ministry in Iseluku, a faith-based movement rooted in love, healing, and empowerment. Beyond the lecture halls and the ministry, Dr. Lucky is a prolific writer, best known for his compelling novel, The Agonies of Rita, a work of fiction that resonates so deeply it is now officially used in junior secondary schools across Delta State. With a rare blend of academic brilliance, moral depth, and practical community insight, Dr. Ogben Onyisi Lucky joins us this morning to shed light on a most timely subject, the role of education in protecting Nigeria's democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, Please join us in welcoming a man of wisdom and purpose, Dr. Uben Onyisi Lucky. Good morning, Dr. Lucky.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr.
Good morning.
Lucky.
Good morning, sir. Good morning,
Yes,
madam.
it's good to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so your profile is quite intimidating, and a pastor, a counselor, a lecturer. So it's a whole lot. And who else could we have gotten for this a very, very important discussion? Now, still in the spirit of democracy, of course, you're here to tell us to marry education and Nigeria's democracy. But can you briefly describe the current state of democracy in Nigeria, in your opinion?
Democracy, as we were told, even as children, is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That means it's a process where governance or power is held by the people, either directly or through elected representatives. That means the people that are being governed, the masses, are supposed to have a say in the democratic nature of the governance.
Yes.
But quite unfortunately, that what is happening now is very alarming in the dimension of leadership and rulership. When we talk about democracy, it's supposed to be a government or a governance where the leaders give listening ear to the people who elect them into that position. Are you getting me?
Yes.
And so because the people are not well educated on these rudiments, they find it difficult to understand what democracy is all about. Because if you look at it, there is a kind of miscarriage, you understand, of the process. Even not only the leaders who have to be blamed, but the people who vote them in. Are you getting me, sir? Because if actually we are very conversant with the nature of democracy, where educators teach people from the grassroots level what democracy entails, I think the governance of today would be a better place for us all. So my own opinion is that we're actually practicing democracy in principle, but in the spirit, it is the opposite.
Okay, so moving on, what values or skills should education now impart on citizens for them to support democratic governance?
If you study very well, and you should study your government in secondary school, even in primary school, you have fundamental human rights. These fundamental human rights are different from civic responsibilities. I hope you know. Then when we talk about fundamental human rights, you say the people have freedom of speech, or right to life and all that, inalienable features and all that. Then that is to say that the people that are there, the masses, are to be educated on their own rights, that no one should infringe on their fundamental human rights, and they should also be educated on their civic responsibilities. That is to say, you have a duty. One of the duties of a citizen is that you must vote. When they are well educated in the process of voting, they should also be taught that you should not take laws into your hands. But you see, we are suffering things like vote buying and falsification of electoral results. Are you getting me, sir? So in the process, because these people are not well educated, they mishandle the process. And at the end of the day, they blame the leaders, but they themselves are at fault. I think a man wrote a book, was it G.O. Orewa? Because, no, it's Ojukwu Adimegu, because I'm involved. So he discovered that all of us, one way or the other, we are to be blamed in this kind of mess. So what am I trying to say? If the people are well educated, it's okay. During the election, you don't need to involve yourself in vote buying. Vote according to your right conscience. Do you understand? Then do not allow anybody to influence your decision. Okay? Don't involve yourself in gastarism or all kinds of inadequate or abnormal character or behavior that will lead to the destruction of electoral process. And if they are well educated, you see that I think I heard over the news the other time a professor was jailed for rigging an election for a senator who enjoyed his tenure, but the man was to be sent to jail. So, but if we are to do the right thing, people should be educated on the dangers of indulging oneself in such kind of misbehavior. So they should inculcate moral values to our children to our mothers, our parents, our fathers, telling them the dangers inherent in all these evil practices. If these things, corruptions and vote buying, falsification of result, the ideas can be nipped in the bud or thrown overboard, I believe that this country will be a better place for us. So I don't know if I'm communicating, ma.
Yeah,
Okay.
you will.
Okay. So now, as an educator, do you believe the current Nigerian education system adequately prepares young people to be active democratic citizens?
We are doing our best. So to say, the country or educators are actually doing their best in doing these things. But, you know, most people, their background,
The system itself, you think
this system parental angle should be involved because a father or a mother is part of the system. Charity begins at home. So we are doing our best, but the system, you are talking about, you are trying to indirectly make me shift the blame to the stakeholders. I mean,
No, I'm not saying shift the blame. I'm not even saying they are not. I'm asking you. So I'm not even faulting anybody yet.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
asking you if the current educational system prepares young people to be actively involved in the democracy of the nation, the democratic process
it
of the nation.
does, it does, but because of influence, you see, when a young
So where did the young people lose it? If the educational
let me
system...
tell you, when you are taught in the university, polytechnic or college of education, in college of education, there's a course called titled citizenship education, where you go to the higher institution, you study political science, public administration, and all that. They are being taught. The moral values are inculcated into many of them. But there's an influence.
At the tertiary institution, are they still young individuals? I think a lot of them by then character is already formed. So let's bring it back to primary school, where they call it basic school
At the
and
grassroots
elementary.
level.
When we talk about civic education,
Okay.
earlier I mentioned social
Civic
studies. And all
responsibilities.
that.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is your question exactly on that?
No. So I'm asking now, like the curriculum.
Okay.
Yes, the course outline, that's how we put in tertiary institution. But the curriculum, do you think that it empowers and it helps to frame the mind of these young individuals on the roles they
Yes,
are to
of
play?
course. I think in social study, you have fundamental human rights as a topic, civic responsibility as a topic. So you have something that looks like separation of power.
So where do
they
they
are
start?
taught or they are
So where
pretend.
does voter party now start coming in? Because if they are properly taught about these things, that it's your right to vote.
I was trying to say an issue, influence.
Okay.
Influence
Shed more light.
and parental influence, societal influencer. You see, because these people, most of them come from a poor background. Though what I've been taught in the school could be different, yet you see them manifesting the opposite because of the influence from home and political elites. Because if you are taught in principle on the basis of morality in the school system, when you go out of the educational angle circle, you are influenced by giving your parents what ought not to deceive them. And when your father or your parents or your guardian gives you an instruction, I think you may grow up with that mentality and you will see the society the way it should, which is in the wrong dimension. Are you getting me, sir? So they are being taught, they are preparing them. They taught them these things in principle. Even the educators, some of the educators actually teach all these things, but in their behavior, actual attitude, they portray the opposite. So imitation in the wrong dimension is the problem here.
Okay, so apart from the pivotal role that education is playing to ensure that these students, grow up to understand what is happening in the society democratically, what are some of the challenges that is facing education in this country today that might impact its ability to support democracy negatively?
Corruption in the system, in the educational system and all that. Like I was invited by this commission to speak the other time on radio on the JAMB result, and I keep saying that in as much as people are performing poorly, the people whose duty it is to, lead them to to higher level in life are actually not doing their best. Corruption, because parents, teachers, stakeholders, there is this type of maladjusted, upbringing in taking care of these children. So they are supported in examination malpractice. They are supported in those areas of activities. They learn the bad things. And they grow up with such a notion. And before you know, they start rigging the election in the future. So what they are being told is that you can manipulate your way. These days, parents can lobby teachers to enlist their children in a competition that will be taking place outside the state, and which the child actually may not have merited. So the child is aware of this problem, and then when he grows up with that mentality, he begins to feel that everything is normal. He is going to be involved in the rigging of election, and when any election is rigged, democracy is aborted. Yet we understand. We talk about democracy. I think the senator was speaking from Ainoka this thing yesterday, talking about this democracy. The people are hungry and all that. I see reason with that, because you cannot tell me that we should celebrate democracy every year when the purpose of that is being thwarted or defeated. We understand that if election is rigged and we voted for you, and at the end of the day, it is not what we in order is what we are getting. There is already a discouragement. So there's a problem, sir, because these people are actually misfiring in these areas, and the parents cannot be divorced from this problem. Teachers, the society, the stakeholders, and all that, who quite understood they are being taught, but there's an influence.
So, in summary, everybody has a role to play.
Yeah.
Yes. So now, how can teachers and educational institutions be empowered to promote democratic values and civic responsibilities?
Encouragement or reward. There is what is called carrot principle. Carrot principle, a process where an employer motivates the employee through some incentives. You encourage them, you can increase their pay and do some other things, empowerment and all that. And you will also encourage the students through this behavioral contract or token economy to make sure they cooperate with the teachers. And when the environment is conducive for their educational activities to go on well, I think there will be an enhancement. People will be happy to conduct the election. And when we are happy to do, most of these electoral workers, apart from INEC, most of them, return officers, well, they're professors and teachers, civil servants. So when the teacher who is not being paid well is called to do that thing, and you give him 1 million, what will he do?
He should say no.
Why will he say no?
Why would he say no?
When you don't have money to feed your children, when your salary, I say, he will say no because by God's grace. Or let us face the truth, because if they are being paid, why is it that Nigeria Police Force is being paid well? Because of the risk involved in the job. They are being paid well because of the risk involved in the job. But teachers, these people molding character, are suffering. What is 70,000, 110,000 for a teacher that has family? And you want you to go and conduct your election. Why wouldn't you massacre everything? So you see, we are in a quagmire. It's only God that will deliver the nation.
Okay, so what role can education play in addressing these anomalies we are experiencing, like election malpractices, corruption, political instability in the country?
Sanity, discipline, principle of sanity.
On the part of the educators?
Educators. Okay. Just do your best and leave the rest for God. Just try and, just make sure you show a good example. Do your best so that at the end of the day, teachers, their rewards are in heaven. You people say their rewards are in heaven. Are you?
No, I'm not part of people that
say
I actually believe that teachers should be rewarded.
After suffering everything, maybe at the end, you are not even sure if a teacher will make heaven. That is the point. And the government keep deceiving us that their reward is in heaven. So
let's slightly move away from teachers into the informal education sector. So what role can informal education, such as the media, religious groups, NGOs, play in complementing formal education in strengthening Nigeria's democracy?
You talk about formal education. I think the government of Ghana stated a few days ago banning the public announcement of honorary doctoral degree and professor. And I was very glad over that, because if you go to Agbo, my place, I think there's a place called Converse to some other places. People now back their doctoral degree in theology. 6 months, 1 year. I'm not against it, no problem. And they end this. And so because they have gotten that kind of recognition, they try to make everyone believe, some of them, not all of them, sir, that it is not by the other way. So we, or the clergymen, should inculcate this standard to these our young people, because church is another agent of socialization.
Yes.
Church, the family, the school, and the society. So they go to school and then their family teaches them, the society inculcates some moral value. Then when they come to church, the church should make it as a sound note that go to school, acquire knowledge, skills that will help you in life. As a pastor, I think I have NCE. I have that is NCE in English. I have first degree in English language, masters in guidance and counseling, PhD in family counseling. As a pastor, a general overseer, I saw him when I was going through those processes. So I encourage my members to also follow suit and learn, acquire skill. Everything is not about who school help, school has come, and teach them. They teach the educator, the clergyman should inculcate these moral values. Are you getting me, sir?
Yes.
So-
Other stakeholders.
So, what policies or initiatives can be implemented to help to ensure that education supports democratic development in this country?
Policy.
Yes.
I think the first of all is to eliminate policy somersault and administrative miscarriages.
What are policy somersaults?
There are some policies that are fluctuating. You state something here, you do another thing, and you appoint somebody as a director who is a square peg in a round hole. Do you understand? When they anchor on making those things work normally, everything will be okay, man. We first of all start it with ourselves. They should nail to the board. Policy somersault and administrative, miscarriages.
Okay, so you're a writer.
The agonies of Anita.
Yes, and I know it's being used in junior secondary
Yes,
schools.
in Delta
So
State.
can you quickly summarize, tell us what
This story,
about?
I really appreciate the government of this. You know, the governor actually gave that is encouraged, influenced the publication of this novel
Interesting.
Wow.
when Senator Dr. Kowa was in power. You know, it was the government of Delta State that actually sponsored the publication of this novel. I didn't spend a dime. And after that, the Commission of Basic and Secondary Education, I think I have the PA, Mr. Bruno, who is also SSA to the governor on the youth mobilization, gave his own impact. And the CRC, a branch in the Ministry of Education, was also instructed to look at the book. They found it worthy and recommended it. It's a book that is filled with emotions, betrayals. You see, the agonies of Anita, this girl suffered a lot, even in higher institutions. And the story is something that everybody must read. That will not permit me to start telling you.
Just summarize.
But
I want
to
know
show you
what
how
happens to
corrupt
Anita.
this nation is, some private schools in Delta State are refusing to, most of them are refusing to honor this book. What the governor, commissioner say use. Because they don't want to go, they just look at it's fine, the money is expensive now, this and that. They will just throw it away. Reading all those, what I call it, handbook or pamphlet from the Charmaine market and all that. So when they read, I will not say much about this. It's very captivating. It has a lot of didactism. So they should get to read this book. Let every parent encourage his or her child to go through this novel. They can call me, they can come to me, and demand for it. Go to the bookshop, take my number from the Ministry of Education, ERC, CIEs in Anocha North, and other places, bookshop, like by his tribe bookshop in Nago, Solid Foundation, Complete Secondary School in Seluku, and all that. They can get the book.
Okay, so finally, what would you like to share with young Nigerians that are watching you right now about their role in shaping and safeguarding democracy?
They should
through
get ready for 2027. It's going to be very interesting. I think I pray to God and I would to God that all of us be kept alive. With that aspiration, anticipating that positive arrival, we should also have that faith that all will be well. So I'm encouraging them to take a bold step. Let them reject anything that looks like bribe. Focus and face the truth. Don't be influenced. If they give you 1 million, say no. I think one immigration officer was offered 10 million naira, but he rejected it. So people should follow such examples. And Don't be a political talk to anyone. Make sure their children, all those politicians, most of their children are in overseas. Are you getting me? But they use some of us to perpetrate this angle. And a country where people are forced against their will to gain access into power, is that democracy?
Forced against their will. Like
you don't know that.
Like forcing me into power.
See, on election day, can you please go out and do the work of politicians now? Most of them, when they say they falsify result, and they do anything, and they use our youth to perpetrate those gangsterism. So they should say no in 2027. Let us cast our we just pray our vote will count in Jesus' name.
So you don't believe that your vote
counts? It will pray. I believe. I said we pray it will count in Jesus' name. Let it count. Let it count. Because one thing that frustrates the ambition of the youth is that after everything they feel frustrated. That what they order for is not what they get. Are you getting it? So, but we pray, let our vote count. Let the youth not be discouraged. Get ready for a new Nigeria in 2027.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ogbenloki, a counselor, educator, clergyman.
Thank you so much.
But for that clergyman, I have a question for that clergy aspect before you go. Now, what do you think about discussing politics in church when we see a clergyman putting forth a candidate or talking about a particular party?
No, you can discuss politics in church, but you don't have a preferred candidate in church. Just like a king of a community. Okay. You don't say vote for this one. A king is a father to everybody, just like a pastor. It's not as if it's only the ones coming to your church as your member. There are some. Jesus said in the scripture that there are sheep who belong to me that are not yet here. I will go out and bring them to join us in the sheepfold. I know my sheep know me. So it's not as if those you are seeing now will remain your member forever. There are people outside your church. You will work against them. It will bastardize the body of Christ. So you don't have a preferred candidate, but encourage them. As a pastor, you're a member of APC on your pulpit. When you are in the pulpit, you're a member of APC, you're a member of PDP, you're a member of Labour and every other party. I don't know the one they are trying to bring in again. But when you come out from the pulpit, you can go and practice your political affiliation and encourage and all that. But in the pulpit as a father, you can talk about politics, encourage your members to go and vote. If a week to election, start talking about it. Even 3 months to election, go and cast your vote. Let us elect. It is good to speak about voting, but don't tell them who to vote for. Right. I don't belong to. I don't want to tell you whether I'm a partisan or not. I'm not a partisan politician. Okay. A partisan politician is somebody who is a full-time politician. So before I put myself in close of trouble. So, but we encourage people when we enter into our inner room, we tell our family members, vote for so person. But in an open place like church, you have no right to tell anybody to vote for anybody.
All right. Petra, before we go, we're signing off.
Yeah.
We're signing off.
Oh. Before we go, thank God it's
Tell
Friday.
them to read my novels.
You've said
let them go and buy
that already.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lucky Ogben, for your time and sharing your insights from everything from your BSc to your Masters to your PhD. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And the amazing book too.
I really like to know what happens.
You will read it. I will do more of it in the nearest future.
All right, thank God it's Friday, so do well to take care of yourself. It's when you take care of yourself and you're functioning well for yourself that you can function well for the betterment of those around you. Always take it one day at a time. Everything will definitely fall into place.
Okay, so yesterday was Democracy Day. Nigeria is our nation, and like Dr. Lucky said, we all have our roles to play. So work on yourself. The change that you desire, let it begin. The interview on the role of education in protecting Nigeria's democracy. Clearly, education remains a vital tool not just for personal growth, but for building an informed citizenry that upholds democratic values, accountability, and good governance. All right, it's time now for us to bring you our papers for today, and I have with me here Chizzy Awuno. Good morning, Chizzy.
Hi, Gaga Ekama.
Don't do that, don't do that.
Oh my
you know why?
TGIF, thank God it's Friday.
Yes, thank God it's Friday. But I don't know if the papers are rejoicing or the headlines across the different dailies will make Nigerians thank God. Because we have the Daily Trust, the Punch, This Day, New Telegraph, the Vanguard newspaper, the Nation, and the Guardian. We also have Daily Independent and a Nigerian Tribune. Quite a lot. And we'll start with the Daily Trust. The major headline here says, fuel price may go up. And this is a statement credited to marketers. Alleged coup plots. Brigadier General, colonels, others under probe. Interesting. I thought, well, it's still alleged here. 8 die in Lagos-Ibadan expressway crash. Very sad one there. Cameroon's opposition leader flees. United Nations, France warn against repression. Air travelers kick as NCAA introduces $11.5 security levy. And to the top strip of the Daily Trust, Army deploys 67 generals. Tinubu demands results. What APC can do with 2/3 National Assembly majority? This is a very interesting editorial that should be read out because we've seen opposition parties defecting into the APC. And lastly, from the Daily Trust newspaper, Bauchi to create additional 29 local government areas, 6 National Assembly approval.
All right, the Punch newspaper is next, and first here the screaming headline says petrol soars about 1,000 naira per litre as Tinubu okays 15% import tariff. And that story has a rider to it that says FG moves to protect Dangote local refineries from cheap imports. Fuel importers face tighter margin. Another story here, but the side strip says Bayelsa deputy governor sues assembly over impeachment plot, and that's on page 7. You might want to know what that's about, so do check it out. Another story here says Owando records 164% surge in profit after tax. This is on page 19. At the bottom strip here, we have party registration. INEC disqualifies 6 political groups. Another story here says, this one is a sad one, say call 4 others die in Lagos-Ibadan express crash. And at the top here, we have EFCC, NFRU launch crackdown on alleged coup funders. We can't wait to see how that will go, because the writer here says Army reshuffles top rank, deploys 86 generals, detained officers named uncovered. All right, these and many more you can get on the Punch newspaper, so do grab yourself a copy.
Next is This Day. The lead. Tinubu to service chiefs. Defeat these enemies once. I'll provide all the support. I really love that, especially the support part.
Right.
The Riders declares his government would tolerate excuses again. CDS seeks support of Nigerians in fight against terrorism. Pledges armed forces support for democratic rule. Shake-up in Army as Chief of Army Staff redeploys top generals, other senior officers. Owando announces 164% rise in financials, posts 210 billion naira profit in 9 months. and you see a photo speak there on the This Day newspaper, a picture of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and Minister of State for International Cooperation, that's the UAE Minister.
All right.
To the top strip of This Day, Edu, removal of fuel subsidy, foreign exchange reforms have strengthened redirected public resources. Are the people really feeling this? And lastly, from This Day newspaper, federal government inches closer to implementing single window policy for efficiency at Nigerian ports by 2026.
All right, the New Telegraph newspaper is next here, and first the headline here says House APC hits 2/3 majority with 243 reps as 5 Enugu members dub PDP on play 2 rep abandons. Okay, 1 play 2 reps abandons LP. Well, it looks like the APC was the trending party at the moment. Let's see how that goes. Another story here says Army redeploys 56 major generals, 11 brigadier generals in major shake-up. By the side here, we have this one that says hiking prices of fuel, diesel looms as Tinubu approves 15% import duties. And that's on page 2. Another story here says 2027 female presidential aspirants, 6 coordinators in 36 states. This is on page 25. Maybe some of us can't even wait for a female president in Nigeria.
Are you sure?
Women
supporting women.
Yeah, women supporting women. Well, she has support of few women like us. You know, you can't get 100%, but yeah, we wish her well. Okay, this one here at the top strip says peace returns to Senate as Natasha Akpoti invites Akpabio to project inauguration in Kogi. Okay, now, okay, let's just take a pause. You're laughing. Sorry, I didn't read the letter. I heard the Senate President read that letter, and I didn't see it as an apology letter. I just saw it as her inviting the House and the Senate President, which to me is not a big deal. But you know, social media and Nigerians, they know how to see a particular thing and then turn the narrative. And the woman has come out to say, this thing is not an apology letter. I was just only inviting the Senate President. So I think a lot of Nigerians need to learn how to read and understand, like digest and understand it.
I think it's just headlines, and headlines are meant to be sensational. So that's basically, and it's courtesy to invite the House she belongs to,
right,
the Senate, and of course the President who is leading the House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that's that on the New Telegraph newspaper. So do grab yourself a copy to get more stories on that paper.
Moving out to the Vanguard newspaper, the major headline here is on insecurity. Give us results, not excuses, Tinubu tells service chiefs. And we've got about 2 riders here. Orders them to smash armed groups in North Central, Northwest, adds security threats constantly evolving. Service chiefs assume office, vow to end insecurity. And the next rider, major shake-up in army. It's looking like the rumors were true. 2025, federal government earns 28.331 trillion naira in 9 months, shares 16.446 trillion naira. The rider spends 10.446 trillion naira on transfers, refunds, others. Collects 5.656 trillion naira as allocation. States get 6.749 trillion naira. Local government areas 4.04 trillion naira. Revenue collection cost gobs 1.052 trillion naira. Defection. Stop plots to impeach me. Bayelsa Deputy Governor begs court. Federal government operators differ on states' capacity to regulate electricity market. And a sports story coming from the Vanguard newspaper. NFF says Chell remains Super Eagles coach, World Cup or not. And the rider, he has a 2-year contract, says Gusau, he better qualifies for the World Cup. It's World Cup.
Oh my
and now
God.
to the top ship of the Vanguard newspaper. Oando records 164% rise in profit, 210 billion naira in 9 months. Anambra Showdown 2025. Soludo's promise to ABGA members meant to fight voter apathy. And this is a statement coming from the state government. And lastly, from the Vanguard newspaper, NDDC, Oguku's vision reflects in Niger Delta. A statement coming from Ayiri Imani.
All right, the Guardian newspaper is what we have next here. And first, the Bolton headline says, Justice on trial as court battle neglect infrastructure deficits. Big stories on page 4 and 5. At the side here, we have JAM probes 10 staffers over corrupt practices. Well, I feel like a lot has been happening with JAM, and they need to fix the home front. Okay, another story here says Oando records 164% growth as profit hits 210 billion naira in 9 months. At the other side here, we have petrol may hit 1,163 naira per liter as FG targets 4.8 trillion naira yearly from fresh tariff. This story here says APC gains upper hand in-house as defections reshape power balance. At the top here, we have quite a number of stories. The first one here says Nigerians expect results, not excuses, Tinubu tells service chiefs. Okay. Another story here says Nigeria shouldn't be among hunger-stricken countries. This is by Obi. Lastly here, this one says CBN, banks can downgrade licenses if unable to meet recapitalization threshold. And that's on page 19. This and many more you can get on the Guardian newspaper.
Moving out to the Nation newspaper. The lead, be proactive and get results. Tinubu orders service chiefs. Looks like this is a big story across many dailies for today. We have 2 riders. CDS pledges armed forces loyalty to defense of democracy. The last rider, shake up in army. I think this is a developing story that we really want to know what's really going on. Imported petrol to attract 15% tariff. New defections take APC to 2/3 majority in House of Reps. Do the opposition parties now have a say? Question mark. To the top strip of the Nation newspaper, Jonathan not eligible to contest in 2027, says Justice Salami. Reps probe tax deductions, multiple bank charges. And lastly, from the Nation newspaper, Southwest galvanizes for regional integration. The rider, mining generates 30 billion naira. All
right, here the last but not the least paper, which is the Daily Independent, and the first story here says LG slams 15% duty on imported fuel to make it more expensive. By the corner strip there, we have cargo clearance at ports in 2026 to be less than 7 days. This is by Shetima. Another story here says SEC sounds the alarm as Ponzi scam swindle Nigerians of over 174 billion naira. Another story here says Natasha is reconciliatory move, invites Akpabio orders for project inauguration. At the top here, we have this one that says 2026, I'm too popular to lose. Adeleke boasts ahead of Guba race. Oh, are you an Adeleke? Okay, that's that on the Daily Independent, so please do grab yourself a copy.
Okay, that's much we can take on the dailies. You can get yourself hard copies or visit the different websites of the papers. But one of the stories that I would love us to consider within the brevity of time is that from The Punch. Petrol soars above 1,000 naira per litre as Tinubu okays 15% import tariff. Now, the writer there says, federal government moves to protect Dangote, local refineries from cheap imports. And it continued by saying, fuel importers face tighter margin. So, recently we heard the vision of the chairman of Dangote conglomerate, and he talked about increasing his refinery capacity from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day. And if he's able to achieve this according to the period, which he said like in a period of 3 years, this will now become the largest refinery in the world. Now, one of the things that has hit the minds of thinkers is that, first of all, when we heard about Dangote refinery, Nigerians were excited about everything. They felt like, okay, this will alleviate a burden for them when it comes to petrol, be it scarcity, be it the cost of petrol and all of that. So it will be easier since we have people, we have a person refining. Before, in the past, we hear that crude is exported and then we get to import petrol. But now we have crude and we have petrol, so it should be relatively cheaper.
Cheap, it shouldn't be expensive.
Yes, but the refinery started producing petrol and all of that, but we still have petrol selling within 900 and all of that. And now we are hearing that petrol might go above 1,000 naira,
which is not going to help the average Nigerian man.
So, and this is coming from marketers. Because of the 15% import tariff on fuel imports. Now, but one of the things we should ask ourselves is, why are marketers still importing fuel? That's the question. Why are marketers still importing fuel? When we have the Dangote, and Dangote has said it over and over again that his refinery has the capacity to meet the demand of Nigerians. So it begs the question, why are marketers still importing? And also recently, before the story came up, Dangote also assured Nigerians that there will be no scarcity during the festive period. This is something we have seen over the years that happens during festive season and all of that, that you see the queues, they come out in petrol stations and all of that. So these are some of the questions that we ask ourselves. Then very quickly, because of time, I want you to jump on this story, the change in service chiefs and the alleged military coup. What do you think? Because, it was part of the rumors that the October 1 celebration, Nigeria's independence, was not celebrated, although the presidency released a counter statement saying that's not the reason, that's to keep it minimal and all of that. So what do you think about these new service chiefs? Do you think that they will be able to change the security architecture and mitigate insecurity?
Well, the truth is, Nigeria has really been through a lot, and we've seen people come out to promise that once they get in, things will be better. At this point, I think we should be hopeful, but not really get our hopes too high, and see if they can perform. Yeah. All
right. That's much we can take today on Friday's edition of the Morning Ride. Chizzy, before we go.
All right, from me, I would just say be kind. Try as much as possible to be kind to people around you. And of course, we're talking insecurity, but it lies on me and you to see something and say something and be our brother's keeper.
All right, it's the last day of the month of October, and by tomorrow it will be a new month, the month of November. So even as we begin to draw to the end of the year, do not put yourself under unnecessary pressure. Spend wisely, because tomorrow is pregnant. On behalf of the production crew, it is I, Ogaga Ekama, thanking you so much for your time.
Yeah.